Welcome everybody to this first of three presentations slash videos about professional podcasting. It's a guide based on a couple of years of experience in podcasting. My name is Markus Felder. I'm an independent consultant. I work with software stuff if I don't do audio, software architecture, domain-specific languages, model development, product lines, and you can reach me through my website at www.felder.de. And you can see my email address if you want to contact me. The experience I'm going to talk about, the podcasting experience in this presentation is based on almost 3 years of doing a podcast, a software engineering podcast called Software Engineering Radio. I do that with a couple of other guys. You can go to seradio.net/team to see the details. I've also done a number of smaller other things, private stuff and, whatever. But my main experience is from Software Engineering Radio. So if you want to get a feeling for the quality of the audio production, go there and find out whether it's good enough for you to do the same as we do. So important note, this setup I'm going to show you here is not intended for live recording and mixing or real-time recording mixing. We do expect to use a separate post-production step. If you're interested in a live, real-time recording stuff, you should go to Adam Curry and look at his recording tips once they're published. Hint, hint. Okay, in this first of 3 videos, I want to talk about recording. Recording is obviously an important step in the overall podcast production, process. And if you don't get a decent recording, everything else is very hard regarding sound quality. I mean, fixing it in post is okay for some things, but it's hard for the sound quality. At SE Radio, we work with 2 different sets of gear. One is our mobile gear, which we use when we go out and interview people at conferences. The other is our studio gear, and then we're going to talk about both of these. So the mobile recording facilities is basically based on the Microtrack, M-Audio Microtrack 2496 device, or its successor, the Microtrack 2. It's a 2-channel digital MP3 recorder, which is actually quite small. Produces really good quality if you supply it with good mics. See later. The only problem it has is that its battery life is a little bit limited, which is why we use an external USB power supply to supply the M-Audio device with additional power. We do not use the cable to the notebook because we've had the 50 hertz, thing from the notebook passed on to the recording and to the microphones, and we don't want that. So then the microphones, we use AKG C520 neck microphones. They are very nice, good quality, okay to wear. We found out that having microphones that people actually have to hold in their hands are really bad, because people who don't regularly do this audio stuff, they will, talk into everything but not the mic. They will move the mic around, sound quality will change. Or the moving of the mic will create shuffling noises, which you'll hear on the recording, which are very hard to edit out. So giving them neck microphones which you install and then they don't care, they just talk, they can move their head as freely as they want, that's really good. So then here's the setup. We connect the 2 microphones to the left and right stereo inputs of the Microtrack. Obviously we need an XLR to stereo adapter cable, and then I use headphones for monitoring purposes so I can hear everybody, myself and the guy I'm talking to. Sorry. You have to turn phantom power on because the microphones need those 48 volts of power supply. And this LMH switch, whatever it exactly does, put it to the M, to the middle one. And that should give you decent quality. If you do recording of Skype calls, then you can do it with the same facility. Instead of the first microphone, you use the line out of the notebook. So that means that whatever the guy on the other end says is fed into your external recorder, and whatever you say is recorded directly through your, nice microphone, and it's also captured by your notebook's internal microphone and passed on to the other guy. So the other guy won't hear very good audio. It's good enough, but it's not really good, of your talking, but it doesn't matter because you record, of course, locally. Ideally, if you record somebody remotely, make sure the other guy records his own track so you don't actually record anything that is, passed on through Skype. Skype's then only used for you guys to dialogue, to talk to each other, but everybody records their own local track. So here is some pricing information. The microtrack currently is at 275 euros. The APC power pack USB supply is at 50. The AKG microphones are 195 each, and then you need a bunch of cables. I've just put in 50 euros. That results in 765 euros total. Well, not cheap, but you have to invest something to get a decent audio quality. Let's look at our studio setup. We use a not so much portable mixer, a Mackie Onyx 1620. It has really good preamps and a bunch of inputs and an equalizer. And it has this nice Firewire adapter, sorry, which you can then use to digitally capture the output on your notebook or on your recording device. And the good thing is that it outputs each of the channels separately. So you don't just get the mixed result, but you really get each of the channels separately. Microphones, we use Heil PR40s, not cheap, but really good quality, professional broadcasting microphones. We use shock mounts, that's the spidery thing around them to mount those. So you want to make sure you don't put any vibrations onto it. And finally, we use pop filters to make sure that the pop sounds are dampened a little bit. Recording, we do it with a notebook, Adobe Audition or Audacity or Attraction. Audacity, open source, free, good enough. Audition is much better in some of the sound processing, but for recording, each of those is good enough. And then, of course, this is my setup here, the improvised setup. What you need to do is that if you really invest into nice microphones, you really want to make sure that you don't have bad original audio. In other words, if your room is quite echoey, then you want to make sure you do some echo canceling, and I do that here with this, with the setup where the microphone is dampened through all the stuff around it. So wiring, 2 microphones are mapped to the 1 and 2 inputs, and then there is a trick. Usually you would just feed those in 1 and in 2 through the Firewire adapter to your notebook, but then it only transmits the raw input, not the equalized input. And I want to be able to, tweak with the equalizer. And so we used an aux loopback. So we map channels 1 and 2 to aux 1 and 2, and then we plug them into in 3 and 4. And that gives me the ability to use the equalizer on channels 1 and 2, and then record channels 3 and 4 on my notebook, which is the equalized 1 and 2. So I do get the equalized 1 and 2 channels, which is what I want. I also have a backup here. I record with the microtrack 3 and 4. So if the notebook dies or something, then I'm still good to go and I have a second recording. Settings, you want to make sure that your microphones get phantom power. You need to set your gain. Make sure you're not in saturation. You want to add some low and mid-low in the equalizer. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And then you just open up the aux settings so you get the loopback working. Pricing, the Onyx is at 700 euros, the mixer. The Firewire adapter is at 350. The PR40s, of which you need 2 if you want to interview people, that's at 345 each. You need 2 shock mounts at 95 each, and obviously 2 plop or pop filters, 25 each, and a bunch of cables. This gives you about 2,000 euros, and if you want to use microphone booms to hold the microphones, you want to spend another 100 euros roughly each. To do telephone recording, not Skype, you do that same way. If you want to do real telephone recording, you use so-called telephone hybrids. The Telos One, for example, is one of them. You can plug in this hybrid instead of your phone through the, connect the analog phone line to the line input of the hybrid, and then you plug in the phone into the hybrid. and you feed the output of the hybrid, which is, the guy at the remote end of the telephone, you feed that into your mixer, and you also use the mixers, what you talk into the mixer, you feed that into the telos so the other guy hears you. Very useful. I want not talk about the settings. It's basically the same thing. And then pricing, the telos is about 700 euros. So if you want to do that with the mobile setting, you're at 1450 euros, 1460. With the studio gear, you're at 2730. Here is my studio. It's actually my office here. I have my the mixer and the hybrid on the left. My notebook here, a second notebook, my old one for backup, and then on the right side I have my microphone with this improvised echo canceling facility. So this brings me to the end of the first of the 3 videos. This one was about recording only. The other ones are about post-production and about some legal issues. Thanks for watching, and you know how to contact me, felter@acm.org. Thanks.